The fragile semblance of stability in the Middle East was shattered on September 9, 2025, when a targeted Israeli airstrike hit a residential complex in Doha. This was not just another strike, it was a profound and unprecedented escalation. The attack targeted a meeting of Hamas political figures. They were gathered to discuss a U.S.-backed ceasefire proposal. For the first time, Israel had conducted a direct military operation inside a Gulf Cooperation Council member state's borders. The audacity of the strike sent immediate shockwaves. The location was as significant as the act. Hamas leaders were housed in a Qatari government residential complex. The strike resulted in a devastating loss of life. Hamas members, Qatari security personnel, multiple civilians. This marked a stark departure from previous Israeli operations. Palestinian territories, Lebanon, Syria. By striking Doha, Israel crossed a diplomatic and military red line. The immediate aftermath was chaos and worldwide condemnation. In direct response to the Israeli strike, an emergency Arab-Islamic Extraordinary Summit was hastily convened in Doha on September 15, 2025. The urgency of the meeting reflected the gravity of the situation. Leaders and representatives from across the Arab and Islamic world gathered not just to condemn the attack, but to formulate a collective response to what they saw as a flagrant violation of a sovereign state. The summit's agenda was clear: to address Israel's aggression and re-evaluate the region's security architecture. However, beyond the strong rhetoric, the more substantive discussions happened behind closed doors. A key topic was the reliability of traditional security partnerships, particularly with the United States, the longtime guarantor in the Gulf. The fact that an Israeli strike could happen in a country hosting a major U.S. military base led many to question the alliance. This skepticism led to serious discussions about exploring alternative defense arrangements. China-Turkey. This represented a potential seismic shift in regional alliances, moving away from a unipolar reliance on Washington. Furthermore, the possibility of canceling lucrative arms deals with the United States was put on the table. Its most tangible outcome was a pledge from the Gulf Cooperation Council to activate a joint defense mechanism. It was a clear statement that an attack on one would henceforth be treated as an attack on all. While Gulf leaders debated diplomatic and strategic responses, a more immediate and kinetic reaction came from Yemen. On Sunday, following the summit, Yemen's Houthi movement launched a brazen attack deep inside Israel. A Houthi drone, flying undetected, struck the arrivals hall at Ramon Airport in the Negev desert. The attack was particularly shocking because no warning sirens were activated, catching Israeli defenses completely off guard. Although the physical damage was limited and only 2 people sustained minor injuries, the psychological impact was enormous. Subsequent investigations by the Israeli Air Force revealed a critical intelligence failure. The drone had been detected by Israeli radar systems, but it was not correctly identified as a hostile threat. This lapse allowed it to continue on its path unimpeded. The Houthis, an Iran-backed group that controls much of Yemen, quickly claimed responsibility. They issued a chilling warning: airports in Israel are no longer safe and will be targeted continuously. This was not an isolated incident. The attack on Ramon Airport was part of a much broader and intensifying campaign. In the 2 weeks prior to the Israeli strikes on Yemen, the Houthis had launched at least 10 ballistic missiles and 12 drones toward Israel.
כוחותינו פועלים בכמה וכמה זירות. לפני דקות אחדות הטייסים שלנו תקפו את נמל חודדה בתימן, זה נמל האספקה הראשי של משטר הטרור של החות'ים. במקביל כוחותינו פועלים בעזה, בעיר עזה, במטרה כמובן להשיג את הכרעת האויב, אבל במקביל גם לפנות את האוכלוסייה. ואנחנו עושים מאמצים כרגע לפתוח צירים נוספים כדי לאפשר פינוי מהיר יותר של האוכלוסייה העזתית, להפריד אותם מהטרוריסטים שאותם אנחנו רוצים לתקוף.
نفذت القوة الصاروخية في القوات المسلحة اليمنية عملية عسكرية نوعية، وذلك بصاروخ باليستي فرط صوتي نوع فلسطين 2 مستهدفا هدفا حساسا للعدو الإسرائيلي في منطقة يافا المحتلة. وقد حققت العملية هدفها بنجاح بفضل الله، وتسببت في هروع الملايين من قطعان الصهاينة الغاصبين إلى الملاجئ، ونفذ الملاجئ ونفذ سلاح الجو المسير في القوات المسلحة اليمنية عملية عسكرية نوعية استهدفت ما يسمى بمطار رامون في منطقة أم الرشراش جنوبية فلسطين المحتلة، وقد حققت العملية هدفها بنجاح بفضل الله.
Since March 2025, their campaign has been even more extensive. 81 ballistic missiles fired and at least 35 drones. Following the strike on Qatar, the Houthis claimed another attack using ballistic missiles aimed at sensitive targets in the Jerusalem area. Israel's response to the Houthi provocations was swift and forceful. The Israeli Air Force launched a series of retaliatory strikes against Houthi-held territory in Yemen. The targets were carefully selected to degrade the Houthis' offensive capabilities. Israeli warplanes hit military camps in Sana'a, where operatives gathered. They targeted the group's propaganda headquarters. They struck a critical fuel depot. The strikes crippled key logistics. The impact was significant. Houthi-run Health Ministry reported substantial casualties. 35 people were reported killed. 131 were reported wounded. Figures unconfirmed by independent sources. This was far from symbolic, a heavy military response to deter future attacks. The strikes were Israel's first major operation in Yemen. A new dangerous front opened in the widening Middle East conflict. Israel has been pulled into the complex Yemeni civil war. The cycle of attack and counterattack has escalated tension since the strike in Qatar. What began as a targeted assassination of Hamas leaders has spiraled into a broader confrontation. New actors are being drawn in and new battlefields opened. The conflict is no longer confined to Israel's borders, it now spans the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. Missile and drone warfare are becoming the new norm. As each side plans its next move, the world watches, hoping to avoid a full-scale regional war.